Interview.
These are the stories of Don Brandish Tahtinen.
Hi. Bet you wanted to know where I was born. Okay, now we can put it down if you want. Your turn.
Where were you born, Don?
Oh. I was born in Chicago, Cook County Hospital. Some people think that was a mental institution, and they really laugh when I tell them, but
Yeah.
it really was called Cook County in Chicago in 1943, June 18th. It was a glorious day. My mother named me, well, she liked the name, but I think it's because I was born around 4:30 in the morning. And here's how it happened. It was a surprise. I was a surprise. And she wasn't feeling very well, so my dad took her to the hospital, and they had her in a hospital room, and there was a terrible rainstorm that night. But she opened her window because she got hot in there. And around 4:30 in the morning, the rain stopped, the thunder stopped, and the sun was coming up, and a beautiful rainbow came up, and the end of the rainbow landed in my mother's room, and I came sliding down the rainbow into her arms. And that's how I was born.
Is that what she told
She
you?
named me Dawn. Yes.
Wow.
She not only told me, it's true. Not everybody gets to slide down a rainbow
Well,
into their
for
mother's
sure.
arms, but that's how I came.
Well, how did your family come to live in Chicago?
That's a little bit fuzzy. I'm not sure about that story because my mom grew up in Cromwell, Minnesota, and my grandparents bought a rooming house in Chicago and moved there. Lived there for a while. My mom met my dad there. They got married there. My dad worked in the steel mills in Gary, Indiana, and my mom, I think, did waitressing. She was around in the Al Capone days and some of those roaring 20s days, and she was a, what did you call them? Not a flapper, I think they I don't know. Anyhow, she danced, she wore chemise dresses, and always was cute, and dressed. She was a fantastic dresser and a dancer, and she loved her day and age. And I could tell you lots of things about my mother. Got her first cigarette when she was 19. Thought she was so smart because it was against the law for women to smoke. And she had a cigarette holder about this long and a cigarette out there. And she thought she was a movie star, I guess. And,
Yeah, I saw that on TV.
so then my dad wanted to move back to Herbster. He grew up in Herbster on the farm. My grandparents immigrated from Yugoslavia in the early 1900s. My dad was born in Ford City, Pennsylvania. Interesting stories about them moving to Herbster and how my grandpa found land there and so on. But it's right just a mile away from the shores of South Shore of Lake Superior. Wonderful place for me to grow up. Loved it, lived in the water, loved the lake, still love the lake. Anyway, they had a farm there, very prosperous farm. They grew wheat and hay and oats and strawberries and had gardens and flowers and lots of roses, and they used to take their mattresses off the bed every spring and throw them over the hedges to air them out and beat them with the broom and in their spring cleaning. And I remember lots of old-fashioned things like that. We saw it still done that way in Yugoslavia today, so it just it was very interesting to me.
Did you have other family members that lived in Chicago? I suppose your dad's relatives lived from there then. If you were
My dad, and he had a sister in Milwaukee, two sisters in Milwaukee. My Uncle Pete, I don't know where he lived. He eventually wound up in Florida, though. So I still have cousins in the Milwaukee area, and my Aunt Gert moved down there and lived with them for a while, went to school, and became a banker eventually. Let's see, his other sisters, one went in the Army and moved to New York, got married and lived there, Aunt Helen, and one went to California. They ended their life in Colorado, in Durango, a wonderful life, very quiet. I think that's all of them.
What was the house like that you grew up in? Like, I suppose.
That I grew up in?
Yeah. When did you move to Ripster? How old were you?
I was probably about 2 years old or so, maybe a little younger even. Probably not too long after I was born, probably a year old or so. They rented a place in town in Herbster, and my dad got this idea to have a gas station and a little restaurant. They'd been in the city now, and they knew how all that was done, and there was nothing of such of the sort around the South Shore, around that area at all. It was so small town, all little tiny towns peppered along the lake, and so he started building, bought a lot, and started building this good-sized building, like 36 by 72 or something like that. It was a good size. The day they opened their little coffee shop, my mother sold every bit of food that she had to serve that day. She made hamburgers and french fries and ham sandwiches and homemade pies. She's well known for her pies. And she got sold out. Everybody, it was so novel to eat in a restaurant that everybody came. Everybody loved it. And they had pop and beer and ice cream cones and cookies and homemade soups and stuff. Their business just increased overnight. The hard part was we didn't have any running water. We had to go across the street and carry pails of water over for cooking and for cleaning and serving, and we had to pump it with a hand pump behind the original grocery store kitty corner. So those were hard days, a lot of hard work. My mother then eventually, she had a wringer washer. She had to do all her laundry by hand in that wringer washer. It was an all-day job. She had a couple of big wash tubs besides the wringer washer, and everybody got his fingers caught in the wringers one time and went right in there. And that was a fun day. And we had our baths. This was after we got running water then. We took our baths in the kitchen sink, and Buddy and I'd be stuck in a tub there in the sink. And then eventually my dad put in a bathroom, and we just could not comprehend what do you mean a flush toilet? What do you mean a bathtub? Big. We just couldn't even imagine what that would be like. And my mother told me, she said, all you do is use the bathroom, push the handle, and it all disappears. Well, where does it go? And how can that happen? What makes it, how can you push a handle and it goes? It was just mind-boggling to us little kids. But it was wonderful to get rid of the old thundermugs. That was Buddy's job to empty that every day.
So you didn't have bathrooms inside then at first, right?
No, not at all. No, we had an outhouse, everybody did, and we were usually full of yellow jackets, hornets would chase us, so it was just a real challenge.
You must have went in fast and out fast.
Yeah, we did, we made tracks. And then once we got our bathrooms, that was fine. Well, then eventually, maybe it was a little before the bathroom came even, my mother had, after living in Chicago for a while, was used to having nice laundry facilities, and now she had to use this wringer washer, and it was an exhausting job to keep up with all this work. Run the restaurant, do the dishes, and do the laundry all in this itty-bitty tiny kitchen was almost impossible. we didn't no such thing as a dryer. We had to hang clothes outside, of course. So she needed an automatic washer that was just kind of new in those days. This is probably the late 40s or so. And it didn't get done. So she left my dad. She said, okay, I'm leaving and I'm not coming back till you have an automatic washer for me. And she took me on the bus and back to Chicago we went. I vaguely remember being on the bus with her, and I think we were gone about 2 months. And she got a phone call and the washer was in. Home we went, and she was happy ever after because she had a way to wash her clothes. Things were still hard though. Everything was kind of primitive.
Did you have a telephone during
We
that
didn't have refrigerators. We had an ice box where you buy a big block of ice, and that's how you kept your food refrigerated.
So how did you get the ice? Did they come around to your house?
Yeah, I think so. I think somebody delivered it. You'd buy ice. And I don't know who stored it or how that worked. Buddy might remember. I think they put sawdust on it or something, but then it wasn't long. We had an electric refrigerator too.
She didn't go back to Chicago, did she?
No, she didn't. We got to stay. We just had a little, my dad drove a school bus, and what question did you ask me about?
Did you have a telephone?
Oh, the telephone. Oh, that's just the most interesting. We had a box with a crank phone underneath the counter in the restaurant. Our number, the whole town was connected through one switchboard operator, Mary Loma.
But she knew everything, I bet.
Yeah, she did. And the operator's number was ring, ring, 2 shorts. Our number was ring, ring, 2 longs. Everybody had a different combination of rings. And so when someone's phone would ring, everybody'd pay attention, and pretty soon you'd hear click, 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 click. And people would get on and want to listen into each other's conversations, and a lot of people did that. I am positive that we never did that. We were just, it was an instrument of privacy and respect and emergency, and we were not allowed to use the phones, so we respected that. And then we started hearing about dial phones, and dial phones. Couldn't even imagine what a dial phone was. And they said it's got a little round thing with numbers on it, and you dial the number. And so when the dial phones came out, we got a new number, and our exchange was Spring. Our number was 55344, Spring SP 55344. They still use that exchange, only now it's 77 instead of SP. And again, I was allowed to make, I think, one phone call to my friend just so I could know how it worked, but we weren't allowed to use a phone unless it was really, really important. So to this day, when the phone rings, I'm on my feet and answering it before it finishes its first ring, in case it's an emergency. So, and I don't use a phone. I love to talk to people on the phone, but I have a hard time picking it up and calling anybody. I attribute it to that time, yeah.
Wow.
It was so, in those days, kids were so obedient, things were so important, we so believed what we were told, that we didn't have any questions about, or thoughts, never occurred to us to disobey something we were told.
Let's see, were there any special items in the house that you remember?
Items in the house. That folks had, they used to sell these wood paintings with bark around the edges.
Oh, they were
They had a big one that said, "Quit your belly aching." It took, it was all one word. It took me a long time to figure out what it meant and what it said. So I always remember it. The money they earned in the restaurant was kept in a little cigar box on the piano in the living room. That was our safe.
With my socks on.
Oh, okay, be careful.
How many rooms did you have in that house?
We had a little apartment. We had, from the little kitchen, we had curtains in the doorway separating it from the living room. We had a little living room, and up 2 steps we had a bedroom, and we walked through that bedroom into another bedroom. That was it. And then the little bathroom down off the living room. So it was small. My sister Pam slept in a crib in my parents' room. Theirs was the first room. And then Buddy and I shared a room in the back of the apartment. We're all on one ground level, you know.
What is your earliest childhood memory?
Earliest. Oh, I know. What a good question. I love this question because I've thought of it over the years, or it's come back to me. I remember, I don't know how little I was. I know that I was not old enough to talk. I could not talk. But I listened, and I remember standing in my crib. This is before the restaurant was built. We were renting a place. I was standing in my crib and listening to my parents talk and everything, and talking to me and stuff. And I knew what I wanted and wanted to answer, but I knew also that I didn't know how to form the words. But I know that I comprehended what they were saying. And I was frustrated because I could not tell them what I was thinking or feeling. And then eventually, within the next 6 months or a year or so, I was able to talk.
Wow, that's pretty young.
Yeah, it was very young. I was a year old, maybe a year and a half.
Oh my gosh, that's younger than
very young.
anybody
So
ever.
don't ever underestimate children.
Yeah.
They understand a lot more. They just don't have the ability to form the words. So that blows me away when I think back. I remember that. And I remember my mother taking my bottle away from me. I was teething, and oh, my gums were so sore, and those little teeth were coming in, and she fixed me a bottle, and I take it, and as hungry as I was, it felt so good on my gums to chew on that rubber nipple. And by golly, I'd snip that nipple off every time and spill my milk. And my mother lectured me, and finally she had it. She said, if you're big enough to bite that off every time, you're big enough to drink out of a glass. And she says, that's it for the bottle. And she warned me, you do that one more time and the bottle's gone. And I remember that. And I thought, oh no, but I couldn't resist it. I bit the nipple off. She took that bottle and she went outside by the window. She put me by the window on the inside so I could see. She said, now watch, this is it. You're not going to see this again. And she took that bottle and she threw it in the field, in this tall, tall grass as far as she could. It was in the fall. And I cried and I was so sad, and I knew she meant it. I knew I'd never get that bottle back. And it was gone, and I had to start learning to drink out of a glass. Well, you know, the next spring when the snow melted, I was out there playing. I'd forgotten about it over the winter. I was out there playing, and wouldn't you know, I found that bottle.
Did you chew on the nipple?
No, I didn't. It was all rotted. But that was just a nice closure to that whole little scenario.
Okay, describe the personalities of your family members.
Oh, that should be fun. My dad, he was out there. Loved by everybody, very personable, laughed easy, just very sociable, could visit with people, talk with people, kind, very kind. He had a good reputation for his kindness. He'd help anybody that needed help. And often we had people come in the middle of the night and pound on his window and say, we need gas, we ran out of gas, 2 or 3 in the morning. He'd get up and go pump him some gas. He was always doing something for somebody, and he took care of my grandpa too. My grandpa lived a mile out of town. He had the farm and had cattle. And my grandpa was getting old, and he'd sit at his window and count his cows, and if one happened to go behind the barn or out of sight, my grandpa would call my dad and say, George, you've got to come, the cows are gone, one's missing. And my dad would drop everything, run up there and look behind the barn, find the missing cow, get it out there so my grandpa could see it. And that was it. He also did haying, and he worked so hard. He drove a school bus, and he was an auto mechanic, and started doing body work. I'll tell you about that later. And oh my gosh, painted his first car. It was a fabulous paint job on somebody's car. He was so proud. It was finally finished. He worked endless hours on it. And I watched him the whole time. He ran in the house to get my mother to have her come and see his beautiful finished job. I took a big bucket of paint and a paintbrush and I went out there and I started painting it. He came out there. He turned around and went the other way. He would have killed me if he got my hands on me. He was so furious.
Well, according to Buddy, he just pulled his pants down and took your spankings.
Yeah, Buddy. Yeah. Oh, Buddy. Don't believe anything he said.
He said he told me all you had to do was bat your eyes at your dad, and he would get the spanking.
I was just little. Anyway, so that my dad, he was awesome. He kept us in venison year-round, legal or illegal.
Yeah.
We always had food, and very, very kind and loving, and laughed. People loved him. He was just a very social person. On Saturday nights, he'd take a bath and slick his hair down. At night when he'd go to bed, he'd save my mother's nylons, and he'd cut them off, and he'd make a little knot on it, make a little hat, comb his hair, and wear this little nylon hat to bed so his hair wouldn't get messed up. Very fussy. Saturdays he'd take his bath, getting ready for the Saturday evening's business, and he would get all snazzied up and put some cologne and aftershave, and boy, he was just sharp, and wear always a Hawaiian shirt. And then he'd come to me, and I'd get to roll his sleeves up once or twice here, so he looked just right.
Mm-hmm.
He'd go walking out into the restaurant, and everybody whistle and yell and cheer, and I mean, it was like a grand entrance of a prince. And so it was really fun. And then the party began. Always music. The jukebox was always playing, and people were dancing, and always the weekends. Absolutely incredibly fun. And my mother, she was a here and now person. She didn't have a thought about tomorrow. It was only what was happening right now. And she always dressed real nice and fixed up, jewelry and her hair fixed and everything. And she always was laughing, and a lot of fun. My mother could tell stories, and she laughed so easy. She made lots of mistakes. But when she'd figure it out, instead of being totally embarrassed, she'd get embarrassed, but she'd laugh. She had an ability to laugh at herself that was refreshing.
That's a good thing.
It was just awesome. She was well-liked, a very good cook, well-known for her cooking. So she worked hard. And then Buddy worked. He had a lot of chores to do. We got big enough to start helping with chores. Up until the time we were about 12 or so, we didn't do too much. We stayed kind of back in the apartment or playing out. I mean, Herbster's just so little. There were only like 5 town kids or 6. And so we played cowboys and Indians, and we went swimming on the beach. And
Didn't Buddy tie you up in the woods?
yes. Buddy was a brat. Buddy and Terry Puig, we would play together. Terry's a year older than me. Buddy's 2 years older than me. And we go out, and I'd have to be the Indian, and they would be the cowboys. And so we would go over to Terry's, and there's a little woods next to his house behind the Catholic church, and we would play, and we would be playing shoot 'em up and stuff. And then they'd capture me every time and haul me out into the woods and say, okay. And they'd tie me to a tree and sometimes blindfold me and pretend to make a little bonfire around me so they could burn me at the stake. And then they'd take off and go play something else, and they'd leave me tied up into a tree half the day so they wouldn't have to be bothered.
No wonder
by
he
me.
got a spanking.
Yeah. He deserved my spankings.
And your sister Pam.
Pam. Oh, Pam was such a tease. Oh, she was a tease. Sweet little girl, very spoiled. Almost didn't survive birth, I think. My mother was, gosh, I don't know right now, in her 40s, I think, when Pam was born. Pam was 8 years younger than me. I think she was born. So my mother would have been 41. That's not too bad. But the hospital and doctors were 40 miles away. We only had 2 doctors in our area, and that was in Ashland, Dr. Joe Kay, and he's still alive. He saved my life when I was 11. I wrote him a letter, a couple years ago, and he wrote back to me.
Did he remember you?
No, but it was so long ago. He's in his 80s now.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, I was thrilled to find him. Just closing loose ends in my life, and I wrote to thank him for saving my life. In those days, I didn't have medicine for a lot of things, and I almost died. I had TB in my blood, and they tried everything to break my fever and help me, and nothing worked. He finally told my parents, I'm going to die. There's nothing else they can do for me. And then a new medicine had just come out around that time. It was streptomycin. And he happened to read about it, and he said, we're going to try one more thing. And he ordered it, tried it on me, and it broke my fever. And I recovered.
Praise God.
Almost as fast as I got sick. So it was wonderful. He was a wonderful, handsome local, almost like a little mission doctor, because there were no others around. That was the first hospital in the area, without going all the way to Duluth. So, okay, Pam. So Pam was born in Ashland in 1951. Oh, she was adorable. She had great big eyes and little teardrop face or oval face. She's a very pretty girl, light blue eyes. She only lived till she was 18, unfortunately. In the restaurant, she used to, when she was about 10, I suppose I was still home, 9 or 10 years old. I shouldn't tell this, I suppose. She'd go get my box of privates out of the bathroom, and she'd come running out in the restaurant and go to the customers, hee.
Oh my God.
I could not keep her from doing this to me. She knew it would.
Yeah.
Oh, she was.
That is something a
She
sister
was
would
so
do.
full of mischief, yeah. And she thought she'd laugh and laugh, and I'd take her and I'd set her way up high on top of the refrigerator where she couldn't get down, and I'd leave her sit there for the afternoon.
And still she did it.
Yeah, she did whenever she got a chance. She was.
That
she was
is naughty.
Lots and lots of fun. Yeah.
What kind of games did you play growing up? We know about the Cowboys and Indians.
Let's see. We took turns riding we had one boy's bike. We painted the wheels with white spots on it, so it was polka dotted, and the rest was red. I think we played Monopoly. I think it was out then. Chutes and ladders, Parcheesi, jacks.
You played quite a bit of games.
Yeah. Jacks was our favorite. Margaret Alkin was my best friend, and she and I would play jacks endlessly, and pick up sticks.
Oh yeah. Well, wait, what was your favorite toy?
My favorite toy? Oh, I had a...
And why?
My favorite toy, I only can remember, we didn't have toys. We played grocery store with empty cereal boxes, and we played library with all my dad's Zane Grey books, and we'd mess the house up horribly, and then we'd get too tired to clean it up. My mother did not like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. What did you ask me?
What was your favorite toy?
Oh, my mother got me a walking doll one time. It was almost as tall as me. Had little rollers on the bottom, so you could wind it up and it would walk. Oh, I thought I died and gone to heaven. I was so happy. But my favorite thing beyond that, I wanted a baton so I could be a baton twirler. And I kept begging and begging for one, and she kept saying, no, we can't afford it, we can't afford it. Probably cost $1.98, if even that. And she just kept telling me, no. And then Christmas came. I had given up on it. I was so brokenhearted that I couldn't have it, because all my friends had batons. And She convinced me it was impossible. I opened this package and there's a baton.
Oh.
It was just the best. I was so happy. I couldn't believe it. She did that for me.
That was nice.
It was very nice.
You gave up on it and you got it.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing to do for fun, like movies or beach or go to the beach?
Oh, swim. The beach was always the best thing. We lived at the beach until I was 13, I guess, till after my dad died. Then I worked. I didn't get back to the beach those years following. But up until then, we spent every waking, we'd go to the beach by 10 in the morning. We'd be home at 5 for dinner. We wouldn't even stop for lunch. We swam and swam and swam and just loved it. Buddy and I and Roberta Blau. And in the winter, Ed Pewitt, Terry's dad was really kind. There was a slough out behind their house and behind the Catholic church there, between the lake and their house. And he ran a hose out there, cleaned it off the ice, and flooded it, and made a huge skating rink for us. So it was not even a half a block to walk there, and the whole town came, and the country kids came too. We ice skated every day after school until dinner time. Interesting thing too in those days, when we tobogganed, and we had a little hill there that we could sled on. So winters every day, that's what we did every day. And in a snowstorm, we'd go under the street lights, which the snow would be coming thick, and it would be, we'd have 2 or 3 feet of snow in every storm. And we didn't have a lot. We only had one plow in town. So people would have to shovel their driveways, and they wouldn't do it right away. So we'd go out and play boxing geese, and just a lot of games in the snow. It was great. Big chore. Did I say we tobogganed too? Yeah. A big chore was just getting dressed to go out. Would you like to know what we had to wear? Even to school every day in the wintertime. We had our regular underwear, undershirt and underpants. Then we had long underwear with a trapdoor. Maybe we just had the long underwear. And then we had long brown stockings. Then we had a garter belt that crisscrossed. You could picture an Austrian costume of some sort that has this H-type thing that comes over your head. It was a garter belt, and it had long elastic with garters on the ends, and we'd hook up our brown stockings, the boys as well as the girls. We'd hook up to our long brown stockings. Then on top of that, for the girls, we'd have flannel-lined jeans and a sweater or shirt of some sort. We would have a dress over there because the dress code, everybody wore dresses. And then we'd have a cardigan sweater. Then we'd have wool snow pants. We'd have probably another heavy pair of wool socks over our long brown socks. And then boots, we'd have to wear shoes inside our boots because they didn't have boots yet that you didn't just put your shoe in. It was double layer. And then we'd have either hoods or hats. Some people have long hats. And then a scarf to wrap around a couple times to cover your face. And 2 pair of mittens.
Wow.
Lord help you if you had to go to the bathroom because it takes you at least a half hour to get dressed or undressed. It was awful. And kids had accidents.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't, but
I
can tell you who did, but I won't.
Buddy. Hi, buddy.
Buddy didn't make it one time.
Well.
Well, that'll teach you for telling him I'm older than you.
Yeah. So you did have family chores, right?
Yes.
And what were they?
I don't remember so much when we were young. I just remember playing a lot. I'm sure we had to make our beds, but I can't remember having to do anything. When we got a little older, of course, we did all the yard work. After my dad died, I did all the domestic chores. Buddy did the sweeping and mopping in the restaurant, and he did pumped all the gas, did the service station, washed the windshields and things like that, all the yard work, lawn mowing and stuff. So that was a big job. I did the laundry and the cleaning. We didn't have a vacuum. We had one room with a rug in it, so I'd sweep it. It never occurred to me that the dust goes in the air. It still has to land somewhere, so I never accomplished much. But anyway, it was Saturdays were our cleaning day, and it was a long, hard work day for us. Wash clothes, we'd have to hang them outside. And in the wintertime, it was awful because the clothes would freeze out there. So once they're frozen, you bring them in and you shake them out. But I never got that down. I bring them in the house and they'd be just as wet as when I put them on, freezing my hands. So I wound up figuring out a way to string clotheslines all through the living room, just a little living room, but I managed to hang everything there. And it would dry. And then I did all the ironing and things. My mother did all the cooking in the kitchen stuff for the restaurant. It was in waiting on customers. And then from Saturday night on, then I would also be out there waiting on customers and doing dishes. And it was a lot of work. But, it was a salvation to me too. I never dated. I never was interested in any of that. I had so much work to do. Plus, go to school and try to squeeze schoolwork in. I preferred to be home. My mother needed me, and she loved it when I would be home. So every Monday she'd close, and she'd go to Ashland to do her shopping and banking and stuff. And she'd say, "Oh, you don't want to go to school today, do you? Why don't you come with me?" And yeah, I can drive. And so I wound up taking Mondays off of school, and my teachers were very gracious to get me through school, but I loved it, and being able to go with her, and that was a really fun activity.
Buddy go along
we
too,
go out
or?
for lunch once in a while. Not always, but once in a while. Sometimes we take turns, and people were understanding that my mother needed help, and so nobody said much.
Which was your least favorite job?
Least favorite?
Yeah.
Least favorite. I loved working hard, and I loved making things look clean. The public bathrooms in the restaurant would get horrible on weekends, but I loved cleaning them because they'd shine and smell good when I get done. And I just loved people being surprised when they go in there and see how nice they are. So I love that. Probably my least favorite would be hanging clothes in the wintertime. That was hard.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I didn't mind ironing, although it was hard. There weren't spray starches in those days. We had a sprinkler bottle where we dampened the clothes. So ironing was time consuming. My mother liked to iron those, so she ironed sometimes. I just thought of something else that I didn't care. Oh, I didn't mind sweeping or cleaning or anything, but it absolutely killed me to take a dustpan and sweep that little pile in the dustpan. So if I would sweep the whole floor, I would do just about anything if I could get somebody else to put it in the dustpan and throw it away from me. Good deeds to do.
What do you want to tell about?
Oh, I'm just going to tell. Well, Buddy and I had so much fun together. Oh, we grew up typically brother and sister, I suppose. But anyway, we'd been around my folks who were very kind to other people. Anyway, we wanted to do a good deed one day. So there was this old codger that lived kind of out in the woods behind the school. Old Man Bjork, we called him. His name was. I don't know anything about him, but he probably does. And we thought, oh, who can we do a good deed for? Let's go see Old Man Bjork. Maybe he needs something. And so we got a little tiny box, and we thought, let's go pick him some fresh wild strawberries, because I bet he can't pick them himself anymore. He kind of lived, I don't know, there was a little trail with some slabs making a path, and it was wet and kind of swampy, and so there were jolly jump ups and those kind of swamp flowers and grasses and stuff and cattails. But there were wild strawberries that grew out around in there too. Nice sized ones, big ones. So we started filling our little boxes with wild strawberries, and it was just, I mean, we'd pick one, we'd eat one, pick one, eat one, and we got so tired of picking all of a sudden that we thought, oh, this is not fun anymore, this is hard work. So we took and we picked a bunch of grass, and we filled our boxes half full of grass, and then we just covered the top layer with strawberries. We thought he'd never guess that we just...
Did you bring it to him then?
Yeah, we did. We gave it to him. Oh, thank you, thank you. He probably gave us a nickel or something.
That's cute.
Buddy's idea.
Yeah, that sounds like
ingenious.
Yeah.
Always thinking.
Well, for your chores at home, did you receive an allowance?
No, gosh, no. I asked my mother one time if I could just pay, if she could pay me a quarter a week. I knew I could save money, so I'd have a little bit of money, and she'd say, oh, just take it, take whatever you want, whatever you need. But my conscience was so crisp, I just could not, I couldn't do it. And so I never had any money. He didn't either. We didn't know a thing about money. Oh, I wish I would have known then a little bit more. I could have done her bookkeeping. I did take care of the cash register and tallying up the receipts, and I did pay some bills, but it was just paid cash. When a vendor came, they'd bring all our bread and stuff, and I'd just pay out of the cash register and write it on the slip what the money went for, but no system. I didn't know how to do it. I would have loved to have learned how to do it. I think I could have saved her some money, and I could have been a big help to her, but she didn't know. My dad was the thinker in that department, and he had already died, and she was just kind of deal with. I mean, it was such hard work every day that to take time for the mental things to keep in order just didn't happen. She should have had a bookkeeper or something.
What was school like for you as a child?
A little child or a high school?
Well, you could start with a little child.
Oh gosh. Well, we had our schoolhouse had all 8 grades. We never even heard of kindergarten, and we had probably 50 kids in the whole school at the most. Some grades would only have 3 or 4 kids in them. I think my grade might have been about 12 kids, which was kind of big, large size class. We had 3 schoolrooms, so we'd have like 3 grades in one, 3 grades in another, and 2 grades in the other.
Was that in Herbster? Or
yeah,
Fort
in
Wayne?
Herbster.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
the white schoolhouse is still there.
Oh, wow.
We always did, we learned folk dancing and the Virginia reel. We did a lot of that. We did, I forget what you call them now, hoops anyway. All kinds of precision dancing and things.
Oh, yeah.
We had to learn. We had a lot of musical things, plays. Oh, it was horrible. I was so bad. I could not remember. I to this day, I cannot memorize a thing. I can give you something in context if I think of it, but I can't memorize it. I was a flower, I was a petunia in a play one time, and the whole bunch of us lined up and dressed like petunias. And everybody said their part, and it got to me, and I just stood there until finally the whole audience was just laughing and roaring, and everybody, the students were looking at me, making fun at me, because I couldn't remember. I think finally somebody told me what my lines were, and I said them, and we got through it. That was the last time I was in a play that I had to say a line. It's just not my bag.
Nobody asked you?
No, they knew better. I mean, that was the most horrifying experience. I was so embarrassed that I just could not. I had that fear
Yeah.
for the rest of my life being in front of people to talk. I still can't do it. I can do one-on-one. I can have a lot of fun and stuff, but boy, if something's planned, if I don't have a script in front of me, I can't, I can't make it.
We have overcome it because you play the piano in front of people.
That I can do, but see, I can accompany somebody. If the spotlight's on somebody else, I can do good as a second fiddle. That's my position. I work best in that place where I don't have to be. When we planned our wedding, maybe we'll get to that, but we planned a big wedding, and oh gosh, so many good plans. But inside, I was just about to get sick, thinking everybody's going to turn. They always look at the bride.
Yeah.
I could not overcome the fear of that. I just couldn't do it. I didn't know how to be. I had so little self-confidence. I just couldn't do it. So we didn't have our big wedding. We got married. We decided and got married in 5 days and canceled our big wedding.
Or maybe that was best for you.
Yeah, it was. It worked really good. We were never been sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe later we can talk about it.
So what was high school like then?
High school. High school was fun. I loved classes. I did very well in shorthand and typing and bookkeeping. I loved those things really much. They had order to them. I loved math. I struggled in algebra. I loved it, but I was already starting to miss so much school that I wasn't in the flow of where the other kids were, so it became kind of hard. And history I hated. I just couldn't get it. I was looking ahead all the time, today and tomorrow. I couldn't understand why I had to know about what was in the past. It took me till I was probably in my 50s before I finally figured it out why history is important. And now I'm real sorry that I don't have that foundation. And it's hard for me. I don't know what, someone will ask me a question and I'll answer, and Alex will look at me like, Grandma, that's not how it was. And he knows all these people, he knows history so well. He's correcting me all the time. So I'm glad he loves it. And Grandpa loves it too. So.
Well, what was your best subject and what was your worst? Algebra must have been your worst.
No, yeah.
History.
My worst was history because I couldn't get it. I couldn't relate to it. We had a teacher that was real monotone one of those years, and I went to him. I said, I don't know how to do this. I can't get it. I'm trying, but... And so he gave me passing grades just because I was honest about it, and I just couldn't relate to it. And I was needy too. By this time, my dad was gone, and it was hard at home, a lot of work and stuff. So the teachers had a lot of grace for us, most of them. And my favorite, of course, was music. I was in a quartet. I was in choir. I was in band. I was a drummer. In the marching band. I was a drummer, and then I played timpanis when we did orchestral music. We always put concerts on, and that was really fun. And I did all the percussion things that they had, and I got to play. And so music was just a real highlight. It was refreshing. It was life. It was discipline. It was the best for me. Plus my commercial subjects, like I said, typing was probably my top. I was a fast typist. I loved it. And of course, I'm a little bit competitive, so all the other girls were really good at that too, typing and shorthand. So we would race, and it just...
Well, I can testify you're a fast typer.
Yeah, well...
Oh my gosh, you're fast.
Depends on how fast the keyboard can go.
Oh, yeah, that...
My fastest one, oh my gosh, I'm sure I was above 120, I think.
Oh my...
But it was an electric typewriter that Xerox put out called Diablo. And it had the ball when
Yeah, I remember
everyone was
that.
using typewriters yet. It had the ball and automatic carriage returns. The first time we ever saw anything like that. And or how did it? Yeah, carriage return on the paper. The ball would just stay. And but that typewriter goes zim, zim, zim. It would go so fast, and it would just be like lightning. So it was fun to play because I could hear that thing whizzing, that carriage return, and I could type fast. It was great. But thank goodness now we could throw away our whiteout and our tape that we used to make corrections on.
I remember
forget what
those
they call it.
machines, but I certainly wasn't as fast as you.
Wow. It was fun.
So you attended grade school in Herbster and high school in...
8th grade, we consolidated with Port Wing for some reason. I don't remember
Oh,
why.
I see.
And so we went. That was scary, but it
Yeah.
kind of introduced us to the high school was upstairs. The grade schools were downstairs. Grade school. So we got acquainted with kids from that school, from Port Wing, and I think they brought some Ulu kids in once in a while, and I think we even had school for a week out in Ulu. Oh, I didn't like that. It was farmland mostly and dry, and I had to be by the lake.
Why did they do that?
I think they were repairing the classroom
Oh,
or
I
something, so they just bussed us to Ulu, and they were probably doing something at our
Do you want me to
school
pause
in
it?
Herbster. No, it's okay. It's okay.
Did you go to college at all?
College? I took an interior decorating class. I went to Fond du Lac College, took creative writing and some English courses. Loved.
That's right, I remember.
And I'd love to go back. That was the most fun I think I've had in a long time. If I could, I mean, it would be worth it to me to go back and take more courses. I loved it. But I got lots of things that I want to do.
What school activities and sports did you participate in?
School activities.
Like band or...
Music was the biggest thing. Yeah, I was, band and marching and orchestra and singing and those kind of things I did a lot in. Sports, I played softball, loved softball, but I couldn't run. I'd get out of breath and get side aches, and I could really hit, and I was a good pitcher. I pitched. And I thought, if only somebody could run for me. I could never make it to first base. The ball always beat me there, but I loved to play softball. But that was about all. Just our gym classes. But our gym classes were awesome. We had, through the winter, we had tumbling and rings and trapeze. And then the trampolines came out. And we had that. And we had the belt to learn how to do flips and somersaults. And I was a really good tumbler. And I could do all those kind of things, and but we didn't have anything as far as structured sports. Just what we did on our own, ice skating in the winter. So. Played basketball. I loved basketball too because it's fast, but I couldn't run. It was painful for me to run, so it just sports didn't do it for me.
Do you remember any fads from your youth, like popular hairstyles or clothes? Any fads?
Well, of course, in the 50s, we had the poodle skirts that were gray with a big pink poodle on the side.
Did you wear them?
Belt. I had one, yeah.
Oh, cool.
And we wore sometimes hair bands. Everybody, we set our hair with bobby pins. We almost all, I think we parted our hair in the middle and flipped it up, and then we put bobby pins along the edges to hold it, so everybody had a flip. And that was fun. Let's see what else. 50s music, of course, the era of the 50s was fun, fabulous, yeah. Dance, jitterbug, things were pure. Songs I listen to now that were written in the 50s are shocking to me when I think of the connotation and the innuendo in them.
Yeah.
But back then,
you didn't think of
it didn't mean those things, or at least not to us kids. Maybe older people who wrote them, I don't know. But we were pure-hearted and innocent. We'd have beach parties, we'd bring cases of pop, and we'd bake potatoes and foil in the fire, and we'd roast hot dogs and play games and innocent, beautiful things. Danced a lot, but dancing was really an art. It was really fun. It wasn't anything sensual or anything like it is today. So things have changed over the years. The 50s were the most unusual, uncommon era of any that I've ever known, and the best.
Who were your childhood heroes?
Heroes. Childhood heroes. Well, my dad, of course, he'd been absolutely number one, and my grandpa. My grandpa always sat at his window and looked over his farm and his acreage, and he had about probably 160 acres. He'd say, "Thanks be to God, thanks be to God." I remember that always, and he'd kiss me, he'd squirrel kiss me on the head all the time, and just loved on me. Wouldn't talk much, just loved on me, on all us kids, and just squirrel kissed us like crazy, and so we always felt loved, and so he would be high on my list. Other people maybe that had an impact on me, Dave Mashad. He was a recreation teacher that came from, I think he was from Proctor, a teacher. He came, a gym teacher, came down and spent the summer on the South Shores and organized all the kids in the little towns along the South Shore for recreation programs. Gave us swimming lessons, taught us how to life save and how to care for people, and had cookouts and different things like that. So that was at a critical time in my life, was a impacting. I don't know who else. I'd have to think, but
Well, what were your favorite songs and music growing up?
12th of Never, Johnny Mathis, Devoted to You by the Everly Brothers, probably my number one favorite. There's so many good 50s songs that I'd have to think about it a little bit.
What's your favorite right now?
Now?
Doesn't ask that, but I want
Favorite song? Oh, I'm sure I have one.
Yeah, you have a lot of
Right now, on this CD, I've got one that Angie has on a tape. I'm not big into contemporary music at all, but there's a song on here that I love because I can relate to it. And it's about, it's called something about smelling coffee in the morning.
Oh yeah.
I woke up just this morning, and he's got his head covered up yet, but he's, let's see, where's coffee? I don't know.
I know
We can play it after a while. There's coffee brewing, and the sun is, his grace is he's waiting for us to wake up and get into the day, and his mercy comes streaming in, or his grace comes streaming in the morning sun. The birds are singing, and it's just absolutely love it. It's everything. It says everything for me.
Did you have any pets growing up?
But yeah. Our best and longest lived and favorite was Cocker Spaniel, a golden cocker named Jip. And my mother at dinner time, Buddy and I'd be playing down the street in a lumber pile, losing our shoes every day. Oh, she'd get so mad at us. She'd put the dog outside and say, "Call Don and Buddy, it's supper time." And Jip would go out there and go, "Oh." Everybody all over town knew it was supper time at our house because the dog was calling us. And we couldn't hear my mother, but we could hear the dog. So we'd know when it happened. We had to come right now. And we'd always come home without our shoes. We had little high-topped Oxford shoes that would get so hot and sweaty in the summer, we'd always take them off, tuck our little socks in them, stick them in the lumber pile someplace so they'd be safe, forget where we put them, and come home. And well, then she'd get so mad at us, and I couldn't, my poor little tender bare feet couldn't take the cinders. My dad always had cinders in the driveway for traction and stuff by the gas pumps, and Buddy'd have to walk barefooted and carry me on his back across that whole big long driveway to the house because of my poor little feet.
That's funny. I never heard that one before. Oh boy.
Buddy was pretty nice to me.
Not only did he take your spankings, he had to carry you.
Yeah, he did. He didn't like it, but he always did it.
Isn't that funny? What was your religion growing up? What church? Did you attend any church?
Well, across the street from us was a Catholic church. I went to catechism or Bible school in the summer, one summer, Buddy and I. All the kids did, all the towns, because there was so little. Everybody'd gather, and we went to that Bible school. We had two sisters, two nuns come from Chicago that ran it for 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, I fell in love with their beads and their big crosses and their long black dresses, and I just had to be a nun. I loved it so much. Sister Remy and Sister Jeremiah, they were so kind to us. They spoke so nicer to us than anybody ever had before. It was so nice.
You were lucky.
Yeah, and we just
get knuckled all the time.
They were so. We didn't know about that.
I was naughty, I guess.
Anyway, we loved it, and I wanted to be a Catholic when I grew up and become a nun. And my dad is one of the few times I remember him sitting down and having a talk with me, and very tender and sweet, and he said, I know that you really enjoyed going there and everything, but he said, I would really like it if you wait until you grow up and become an adult before you make any kind of decision like that. That's a really big decision to me. I was so convinced. And because he even took time to talk to me, I thought, and so I never, I didn't consider it again after that, although it was appealing, but mostly it was the big beads and the black long dress, if you get to wear a dress.
It was the clothes.
Yeah, things like that. And plus they were nice, and I wanted to be nice to people. So I thought that's what you have to do if you're going to be a nice person. Anyway.
I should have lived in Herbston.
Kitty corner from that, across the street the other way from us, was a community church. It changed from time to time, from Presbyterian to community to Baptist to other things. And it was a community church, I think. And they'd bring in a minister from Omaha for a long time. Reverend Theodore Shepherd came all the way from Omaha. All the stories about him. Awesome man of God. But then the one that was the most impacting on me probably was Reverend Hicks. Was his name Roy? I don't remember. And he was a Baptist, I think. We didn't know the differences in those things in those days. Didn't matter. But he came and he had a youth group and he had Bible studies for kids and Sunday school and things. And he took the whole town, all the kids, all ages. There was one person, I think that was a year younger than me, all the way up to 4 or 5 years older than me, and we all went through this confirmation class. He felt convinced that we needed to learn some basics of Bible basics, and put us through this confirmation class and confirmed us. At the end of that time, in the winter, the reason I remember it is because I have one picture. I was wearing a brown dress, and I had a pin curl here with a bobby pin in that I forgot to take out. And I looked really funny in the picture. Otherwise, I probably would have forgotten. But he confirmed us. We all took vows. We all had to learn certain requirements of things to learn, and scripture to know and understand and read, and we did. And he gave us each a white King James Bible with our name engraved in it in gold. I still have that Bible. It was just precious, precious, precious. Probably the first gift I can ever remember getting from anybody of any value. So we all got those gifts, and I should try to find that man again someday. It had an impact, and it gave all of us in Herbster, all us kids, some foundation. everybody went through that class. So, and it was the only time that I ever know of that it was offered. Now, there was a Sunday school after he left. There were other people that came in like every 2 weeks. And the local ladies, the Dutch women mostly, and the Finn women, ran the Sunday school, and they made it so fun. It was always, now I recognize as evangelistic. We ended every day, we had a prayer to ask Jesus into your heart. We had birthday penny jar that when it's your birthday you get to count and put your pennies in. And we had flannel graph, and we learned all the stories of Jesus, and it was done in such a special way. And we colored. To this day, when I smell a color crayon, I relate back to those preteen years in the Sunday school. It was awesome. Got stars for scripture memorization.
That's
They do
good.
that. Yeah.
That's real good.
Real thankful for that. And then when I became a teenager, they needed someone to play the organ in church. And I was scared to death to do that, but I could read music. I had several years of music training, so they asked me if I would do it, and I'd play for Dorothy Berkman, who would sing solos. She had an awesome operatic voice, and so would be 3 songs every Sunday, and I would do that. And so all through high school, I was their organist and
Wow.
pianist.
That's where all that music started.
Yeah, it did. That probably broke the ice for me as far as playing in front of people.
Yeah.
I loved doing it, but I was so petrified. And I made mistakes and stuff, especially if it was sharps. But everybody had grace, you know. It didn't matter. So I'm thankful for all those little
Inputs.
experiences, yeah.
Were you ever mentioned in a newspaper?
Yeah. Oh, I have to show you. Let's see, I think I have it. Here, when I was in the 7th grade, 7th and 8th grade just got to be trouble for kids.
Yeah.
I woke up the first day of school, I think, with giggles, and it didn't stop until I went into the 8th grade. And it was the most fun-filled, laughing, giggling year of, we frustrated the teacher so bad. Poor Mr. Farrow from Barstow, California, was quiet and reserved and didn't have a clue what to do with me. My friend who was in the 8th grade, Roberta Blau, and I, we were in the same classroom. We just look at each other and burst out giggling until we're red in the face, and we could never stop. And he was just going out of his mind with us, and he had us separated in farthest corner. She was as far back in one corner, I was as far to the front in the other corner. And if I'd turn around, she'd be looking for me, and we'd burst out laughing. We just couldn't stop laughing all year. Well, anyway, in the fall, the end of September, the Duluth News Tribune came down, and it was coming close to apple season, apple festival time, and they were looking for a couple of kids they could bring up to the apple orchard that they could take some photos of. And in those days, the newspaper had a section called the Cosmopolitan, kind of a personal social paper insert, and they were looking for something to highlight the apple season, and they wanted a couple girls. They were looking for somebody with big smiles. Well, there's Roberta and I just giggling our heads off of that whole classroom, that whole school. They picked she and I. Oh, my teacher just, all he could do was shake his head. So they took us up to the apple orchard, set us in the midst of a bunch of bushels of apples under a tree, and had us taking a bite out of an apple, and took pictures, and we were on the front cover of the Cosmopolitan.
Which one's you?
That's so funny. I'm 12 years old there. I look like I'm about 30, I think.
No.
October 2nd, 1955. And it says, Apple Harvest, Roberta Blau, Don Grandish, love Herbster's Wealthies. We had plaid dresses on. And it was such a highlight. for us, and anyway. And of course, we lost our copy. We had it framed, and we lost it in our fire when I was 13 the next year. And but my good friend Emma Bett was working at the newspaper for a year, and I told her about it, and she went through the archives, and she found this copy and emailed it to me. So I don't have a good copy of it yet, but I think I can still probably get a good copy. But I am absolutely, it's one of those loose ends that came together that was a highlight of my life. And so anyway.
That's cool. Who were your friends when you were growing up?
Oh, I had two friends. Well, besides Terry, who tied me to the tree, and a sister who could run. She was real little, but she could run faster than everybody in town. My best friend was Margaret Ockenden and Carol Ann Buckley. Carol Ann lived a block behind us, and Margaret lived a half a block on the main street. Margaret is still living in town with her husband. Now they're retired and live there, and she's still fantastic. We danced together. We used to spend a lot of time together, jitterbugging and shadashing and playing jacks and playing dress up. She had a big trunk of dress up clothes when we were younger, and oh my gosh, she had a swing, big double swing, so we could swing. We had a lot of fun there.
She sounds like fun.
She was a lot of fun, and she laughs real easy, and she had the most beautiful hair, yellow golden hair, and she used Halo shampoo. And I learned how to clean. I never had any instruction about how to do things, and I couldn't figure things out myself, but I'd go and watch her clean her house. Her mother would go to summer school on Saturdays in the summer. I'd go over and I'd...
Give me an apple and cut it.
Sure.
Because I don't need the peel.
Okay, if you bring me a little knife and an apple, I can do that for you.
Okay.
Would you like an apple?
Oh, yeah. That sounds really good. He wants one cut up so I could... Okay, thank you.
What world events had the most impact on you while you were growing up?
World events.
World events, yeah, and did any of them personally affect your family?
Well, if it was beyond Herbster, I didn't know about it.
Such as like President Kennedy dying.
That was later. I was grown up and working in Waukegan, Illinois at the time.
I was in my 5th grade.
One of the women in the department I worked in cried all afternoon. She had to go home. She was so upset about it, and I didn't know how I felt about it because I wasn't at all politically minded, history minded, government minded, none of that. So I could not relate at all. I just, it was a tragedy, of course, but I don't know. I'm just sort of a nerd, I guess.
No, you're not.
I'm into flowers and hearts and
And grandkids.
yeah.
So you can't think of any?
World events.
I can't either.
I really can't. The guy who lived in the next town got blown up by dynamite accidentally, blowing a hole in the ice to ice fish. He survived. People went in the ditches and the ravines. I mean, that was the height of excitement for me. I didn't know what was going on anywhere. Did not enter my little mind until about maybe 10 years ago. 20.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't like history.
I didn't, or politics or any of that. Oh my gosh. It has never been part of my life. So I can't answer that.
Okay, well, describe it.
I know my folks went through the Depression, and that was hard. They lived on potatoes and oatmeal, I guess.
So they talked about it, huh?
Yeah, they talked about it some, and so when progress started up again, oh my gosh, they had to have all the latest, greatest. We drove a Cadillac, we made it pretty good. My dad was into cars. I suppose that's where Chris gets it from. He had to have the best Okay, are you going to ask me what my favorite car was ever?
Sure. What's your favorite car? What was
All
it?
time, overall, all time greatest love of any car that I can ever remember is a 1959 Chevy Impala.
Wow.
It was sharp.
So were you a
Hard top,
child?
not just
You were
any.
a child then.
I think I was old enough to drive, maybe 15, 16, let's say 43, 59. Yeah, 59, they just came out. I just turned 16, so I could drive. That was the highlight of my life, of course, to drive. Of course, I started driving when I was 10.
Well,
so,
all country kids drive early.
yeah, learned on the tractor. And
Okay, describe a typical family dinner. Did you all eat together as a family?
dinners were always fun. My mother always had a meal. We sat at the counter usually, except on Sundays. If there was no business, we'd sit in a booth. And that would make it more of a Sunday dinner, and we would have something big, chicken or roast or something. Evening meals could be anything. Always we had a salad with my mother's homemade French dressing with cucumbers and tomatoes in it. I didn't like tomatoes, but
Do you like tomatoes now?
nah.
Not really.
I can eat things with hot tomato sauce, or if tomatoes are cut up real small, I can do that. And I love salsa, but no, I'm not for raw tomatoes. I got sick when I was in grade school one time. The cook wouldn't dismiss the whole school. Nobody could be excused until I ate every bit of what she gave me. And
That's terrible.
It was made with raw tomatoes. She cooked up raw tomatoes. It wasn't simmered long enough, so it was still acidy. I told her I couldn't eat it. I didn't like it. She filled my plate. I was just a little girl, probably in the 3rd grade,
Oh man.
second
that's
grade or
mean.
something. And I forced it down and I threw up all over everything. So she never made me eat anything again. Oh well. But we had always a salad, and we always had at least 3 things: a vegetable, a meat, probably a potato, and a salad. So 4 things.
And your mom did all the cooking?
My mother did the evening meals, yeah. Breakfasts were just cereal, or as I became a teenager, we lived on sweet rolls and coffee before we went to school, so I never was feeling really well all through my high school years. Didn't have a clue it had to do with nutrition.
Yeah. What was
So
your
many
favorite
things.
foods?
My favorite? I'm not sure I had a favorite. Hamburgers, of course. I lived on hamburgers. I could live on hamburgers today. I love them.
How were your holidays?
Holidays were fun. Always traditional big meals, get together with the Diamonds, our relatives, either on Thanksgiving or usually Thanksgiving. We'd go to their house in Iron River, and then sometimes on Christmases they would come to our house. And my folks always would find somebody around that didn't have a family and invite them for Christmas.
So that was like a special tradition you guys did?
Yeah, it always was. We always had guests that didn't have family
nice.
or home or have children or something. Yeah, always. So it always made it a special edition, added that new dynamic and element to entertain a little bit, and it wasn't the same old dinners. It was always special. Loved going to Diamond's house. They always had mashed potatoes and ham, I suppose, and Aunt Gert made this wonderful chocolate cake, deep chocolate cake with boiled frosting, boiled ice cream, kind of a marshmallow frosting, 7-minute frosting. Oh my gosh, I just look forward to it all year, every single year to have that. It was the best. And my uncle teased me relentlessly. He would make everybody stop eating and look at me, and he'd laugh and he'd say, "Now look at her, look at her." Every time her elbow bends, her mouth opens. And
Oh boy. Everybody has one of them in their family. Which uncle did that?
Looks like I got in the
Uncle
cake
Chuck.
again.
Good job. Oh, excuse me, Dawn. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
So did you guys celebrate birthdays then?
We did when we were little. when we were kids. We always had birthday parties, and all the kids in town, everybody came to everybody's birthday, and we played games, but they were organized games. We always did drop the clothespin in the bottle, pin the tail on the donkey, things, and hide and seek, and we had to run off some energy. And I mean, all the birthday parties were the same. Margaret's were the best always. She always had the best food, the best organization, everything. But we all did it.
How is the world today different from what it was like when you were a child?
Oh, it's so different. It's scary today. Of course, part of that is my mother nurturing instincts that are fearful for young people especially. I think they're up against some horrible odds these days because the philosophy of the day is do whatever you feel. And we should get a fan out here, huh? It's hot out here. And there's so many elements drawing kids away from standards. The standards are being removed. There's no standards anymore, no guidelines. The philosophy is your parents are the worst influence on you in a lot of cases. I mean, that's an underlying tapestry thread that's growing, and it's really bad.
Yeah,
I fear for the kids when they get drawn away to start thinking for themselves, and they think for themselves now. And I think it's a good thing that if parents care and give them guidance and teach them how to make good decisions, I don't think they should be robbed of that. And it seems to me that the philosophies of the day are let the kids think for themselves and make up their own mind, let them have what they want, and don't challenge them. And there's so many laws. It's a hard time. It's not free. Kids are not free to be kids anymore. They are forced to be sensual. They're forced to think like adults and make decisions and have expensive toys. We had oatmeal boxes to play on, and we made our own little bows and arrows out of twigs, and not that we were going around shooting each other, but
tied each other up.
Yeah, we used rope. Now the games are serious. They're life and death games, and it's a terribly hard, tragic time for young people. I just am afraid for what the future is bringing, and I don't know what to do about it except pray. The only hope we have is in God. And my emphasis always to Alex and Angie is to get to know God through Jesus, read the Bible. It's our instruction book, our textbook on the principles of how life can be prosperous and successful. And if I can impart that to them, that's about all I will have done my job. And okay.
Who was the oldest relative you remember as a child? And what do you remember about them?
Oh, my grandpa, I suppose. He was awesome. I didn't realize he had an accent until Buddy told me one time. Grandpa was just Grandpa. He didn't say like everybody else or oofda. He said M.
So is that your mom's?
No, my dad's dad.
Your dad's dad.
Yeah. And he was always thankful. He always said thanks.
I was looking for flowers for you.
There's some in the front yard. Didn't you find them, the daisies?
Yeah.
Logan just picked me this nice little bouquet of dandelions.
Yeah, but I couldn't even.
You couldn't find them? Okay.
Because there was too much bugs on me.
Oh, okay. We don't want bugs on you, so.
Why do the bugs keep liking me?
I don't know. Could you find my bottle of water from the fridge?
You must be a very sweet boy.
He's a very sweet boy. Very thoughtful. Always running around looking for something pretty to give somebody.
So the oldest relative you remember is your grandpa?
Yeah, I suppose so. He was incredible. I loved him so much. And he used to, I don't know, he paid attention to us. He'd always tell us to go outside and do turns. Buddy and I used to go out and do cartwheels all over his yard, day and night. He had a yard light, and
I wish I could
winter
do a
or
cartwheel.
summer we'd make angels and we'd do cartwheels, and he loved it, and he always complimented us. He had a cookie jar on his little sideboard, and he had molasses cookies covered with white frosting, and that was our treat, and it was real special to go there. He had a wood cook stove, and it always smelled good, that fresh kindling burning, and I watched him kill chickens one time. Oh my gosh. I didn't know that you'd chop their head off and they'd just go running around their yard crazy.
Did they scare you?
That was yeah.
Did they chase you?
That was a horrifying. Yeah, you didn't know where they were going to go, and you thought, oh, they're going to get me. He doesn't have even a head, just blood. And they'd always seem to run out and run into the outhouse.
Oh my. Did you dream about it?
No, I don't think so.
That's good. What do you know about your family's surname? Which would probably be Grandish, right?
Yeah. Oh. Well, my mother always said when she was trying to tell people how to remember our name, because they had a restaurant, she said it's Grandish. A grand dish. So that was easy for people to remember. But in our research and over the years, when we started making touch with our Yugoslavia relatives and finding living relatives, finding out our roots were there, first of all, we all grew up thinking we were different things, German, Austrian, French, Croatian. We didn't know what we were, and nobody'd talk about it. They'd all get in an argument. And the reasons for that. But the surname is correctly Grandich. And I have papers from my grandpa's naturalization papers and immigration papers with his signature on it. Vaso M. Grandich with a little apostrophe. And so I'm thrilled to have that and know some of these things from back then.
Is there a naming tradition in your family, such as always giving the firstborn son the name of his parental grandfather? Is there any kind of naming?
No. I wish I would have known more about that. I certainly would have named my... I love the names I picked for our children, but I would have included family names. I loved my grandmother's name, Pauline, or Paula, and in Yugoslavia it would have been Pela, P-E-L-A, and I have documents with her name as Pela Prodanovic, but when Chris came along, he was the third boy, and I thought, I'm never going to have a girl, I better take advantage, so I named him Christopher Paul.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was probably, of all our kids, that's the closest one related to a family name, because I love that name, Paul and Pauline and Paula.
What stories have come down to you about your parents and about your grandparents, and maybe even more distant ancestors? Did you hear of any stories coming down through the generation? You must have heard some when you went to Yugoslavia.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, we found, it takes another whole tape to just tell about Yugoslavia. My own parents, my grandpa immigrated in around I have to look in the book to make sure, I thought around 1903, 5, 7, something like that, 7 maybe. After he and my grandma were married and had one child there, possibly another 2 children that maybe died. Those pages were missing out of the church documents in Slavonia. But it was common to have children almost every year, in those days. Anyway, he immigrated and came through Philadelphia and made his way up to Pittsburgh. I think he had a friend there that had preceded him, and it was all Slavic people. There were Croatians, Serbians, Slovenians, Slavonians, Dalmatians, Macedonians, and it still is that way today, and it's right on the Allegheny River, surrounded by gorgeous mountains. My grandpa got a job working for Pittsburgh Glass. He worked in the, oh gosh, I can't remember now. Anyway, we've been there. We've been taken up on the hill exactly to where the factory was that he worked in. I think he became maybe he was a boss or something.
Where's their watch
People that would come, then he made contact with, I think he sponsored people to come. They'd immigrate, they would come there, he'd get them a job, they'd stay at their house. My grandmother would fix a bed and so on for these people, new immigrants. My Aunt Marie was just 5, 6, 7 years old, would sit and daily teach them English from her little beginning school books. And so she worked in that, helping them to learn the language. Thank you. We can just go on.
Okay.
Anyway, the houses in that area are unique. We've been to Ford City a couple of times. We've been to the county courthouse too to get papers and stuff. But Ford City is still, a town of little houses, brick houses mostly, which is real typical Yugoslavian, with tiled roofs, and they all have awnings and front porches and swings and chairs, and it's just its own unique little village. It's a real cool place to go. Okay.
Are there any stories about famous or infamous relatives in your family?
Well, my family is alive and well, and got a lot of educated people. My Uncle Bob, I lived with them even for a time when I got out of high school. I moved to upstate New York. They helped me get a job in the vet school. My uncle was a professor there. I didn't know anything much about colleges or anything. Anyhow, he's wonderful. Married to my Aunt Helen, my dad's sister, who's passed away this year, unfortunately. She grew up in Herbster. She knew what that was like, small town, isolated, and she wanted to help give me a chance at life and maybe introduce me to education and school and stuff, so she invited me to come and stay with them and work there. I went for a year. Uncle Bob was a professor of the small animal clinic at Cornell, and turns out I used to ride to work with him every day, and he was handsome, big smile. Years and years and years later, I went to the animal hospital here in Cloquet with one of our pets, and just chatter. Told the vet that I have an uncle that's a professor at Cornell University. Oh, what's his name? I told him, Robert Kirk, and he said, the Dr. Robert Kirk? And I said, well, I don't know if it's the Dr. Robert Kirk, but yeah, Dr. Robert Kirk. And he said, he ran in the other room and he came back with this giant textbook and he said, this Dr. Robert Kirk, and showed me a picture of him in there. I said, yeah, that's my uncle. I lived with them. I had no idea how famous he was. Turns out that he's written numerous books, textbooks, that are used all over the world in small animal clinics
Isn't that something?
universities and hospitals, and oh my gosh, and he's alive today, and I love him dearly, and he's a great man. In fact, all his writings and manuscripts have recently been put in a rare manuscript department of the vet school at Cornell. I found it on the internet or something, and it was what an honor. I mean, he's something. Still good looking.
He is good looking.
Very nice, yes.
But and Helen was very, very nice looking.
She was. Yeah, she was a great person.
Do you have any recipes that have been passed down to you from family members?
Well, probably a lot. I'll talk about just briefly the national food in Yugoslavia is sarma, which is a cabbage roll, hamburger and rice rolled up in a cabbage roll and baked, and I think you put tomatoes over it or something. I make that once in a while, and just whenever you go, any holiday in Yugoslavia, you have that. My grandma's meals always had sarma, and so I'm happy to be able to make that. I have some pretty fancy cakes, 2 layered cakes, and one is made with coffee and about 15 eggs, I think, and
Wow.
You drizzle coffee in the batter, and you drizzle coffee in the
Well, that sounds
after
good.
it's baked, and strong coffee. And I haven't made it for a long time because it takes many hours for me to make it, but it's awesome. Yeah.
Are there any physical characteristics that run in your family?
We're all chubby.
Oh,
No, we're not. My mother was round like her mother and has little bird legs.
I can relate to
My
that.
dad's side of the family was pretty robust and strong-boned, and we're kind of that way. Most of his family had brown eyes, except for my Aunt Gert, who has green eyes like my grandpa. Everybody else had brown eyes. My mother's side were all blue eyes, light blue eyes. I guess I have her blue eyes. I don't know. That's about it, I guess. My dad's side were kind of dark. They're Southern Europeans, so they were kind of dark. My mother was 100% Swedish, so they were very fair.
Mm-hmm.
Tight-pored skin, just real smooth skin. Large pores in the Southern Europeans.
Are there any special heirlooms, photos, Bibles, or other memorabilia that have been passed down in your family?
No, if there was, it was lost when we had our fire when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe there's anything. I presently have gotten just this year, because Donnie broke his knee last year, he's still limping some. And Aunt Gert, he went and fixed her computer. She's like 83 now and would die without her computer. And so he goes when she has needs and he fixes it. And she recently gave him my grandpa's hickory cane that he used when he was limping. He had a short leg. He added a heel every year to his shoe. So he had a short leg with this many heels on one side, and walked with a crutch for a long time, but he would use this hickory cane.
Cool.
It's like brand new. I absolutely cherish it. I'm thrilled to have it. That's probably the only thing I have from him. And I don't think I have anything from my grandma's side. A few pictures, maybe. So,
What's the full name of your spouse?
Donald Jerome Tahtinen.
His siblings and his parents.
Ellen and Nels Tahtinen. Tahtinen means star. Tahtinen. Tahtinen means measure of music. So I'm Tahtinen, he's Tahtinen. And he is a star. His brother Roy died about 3 years ago, I think now. 3 years ago, I think, of cancer. And he was a Lutheran pastor. Diane lives in Winthrop Harbor, Illinois. She is my age, 60. Am I 64 now? Yeah, 64. She's 2 months older than me. And Eva is 2 years younger than me, and she lives in southern Illinois. Married to my cousin on my mother's side. My first cousin on my mother's side.
And the full names of his parents?
Full names?
That's what it says.
Milos Johann Tahtinen, and his mother's name. She didn't like this name, but it was Thyra Ellen something else, Helene Tahtinen.
Wow, that's long.
Thyra Ellen. She didn't like Thyra, so she chose Ellen to be called by.
But all your kids call her Mumu.
Yeah, Mumu, which is Finnish for grandma.
When and how did you meet Donnie? And what did you do on dates? Tell all. Oh boy.
This was so weird. I was 20 years old. Still a little girl. I had been gone from home for a couple of years. I'd lived in New York a year, and I lived in Waukegan, Illinois for a couple of years. I moved to Waukegan because I had 3 uncles that lived around there, and I needed to have a place where I could get a job and learn how to take care of myself and stuff. New York was really hard. learning how to grow up. I didn't have any experience. Anyway, so I moved to Waukegan and got a little tiny basement apartment. Buddy moved in with me.
Of course.
And we just needed a bigger place, and so I answered an ad in the paper and found this great big apartment, luxury apartment, and a girl from work moved in with me to share a room, and then there was a second bedroom for Buddy, and there were only 2 apartments in this building upstairs of a TV repair and a doctor's office, so we moved there. Made friends with the girls across the hall, which turned out to be from a little tiny town in Upper Michigan, Trout Creek. We became friends. We wound up having our doors open all the time, in and out of both apartments. We were like a great big family. We all could relate. We were little people in a big city working, and we we would throw all our laundry in big bed sheets and tie them up and throw them over our shoulder and call taxis, and we'd all haul our laundry together to the Chinese laundry and let them. We didn't even do our own laundry. We were so bad. But they folded it so nice at the Chinese laundry, and it didn't cost very much, so that's how we did that. Anyhow, we became really good friends, and Diane Tahtinen at the time was so excited because her brother was coming home from the army soon, and she just talked about him night and day, night and day. Was so excited. She said, "You have to come and meet him. He's just so great. You have to meet him." Okay, I'll come. When he comes, you just call me. Well, I knew he was coming on this one night. It was a Monday, I think. But I had to take a shower and get ready for work the next day and stuff, so I thought it didn't occur to me to change my routine for an evening to meet somebody who's special to her and just right out of the army. So I went and took my shower and put on my yellow flannel pajamas. Didn't even have a bathrobe or slippers, and grabbed my thing of curlers, and she called. She said, he's here, come over. So I went over there in my pajamas. Oh, it was so dumb. I mean, he must have been about fainted of fright or something. And he sat on the couch, and I sat on the floor next to him, and I set my hair in my curlers, and we talked. And
well, obviously he didn't mind too much,
He
Dawn.
didn't. He was, thank goodness, he was a small town in his heart as I was. Or otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. And I guess he thought it was all right if I wasn't. I mean, I was just so weird. So small town.
You were down to earth.
I was down to earth, and so we talked. I asked him how he liked the army and stuff, and he was so glad he was out of the army that he wasn't about to let anybody know he was disciplined or anything. So he'd slouch and do anything to not look like an army person. So anyway, we became friends. He enjoyed the fact that I sat and talked to him and asked him questions, and I was good at that. I knew how to socialize and talk to people, so it didn't even occur to me how I looked. Oh my gosh. I'm sure I had pimples and everything. Anyway, so we visited, and that was it. And then he looked for a job, and he got his old job back. He used to work at Abbott Laboratories there in Waukegan, and got his old job back in the chemical plant where they tested erythromycin and penicillin, and they did all these kind of things. So he learned quite a bit about chemical engineering and stuff. He was a chemical technician. And then a whole bunch of us, we never dated. My cousins would come over, Leroy and Wayne, and of course Eva and Diane, Donnie's sisters, and 2 other girls from Upper Michigan were there. Donnie got rented a room in a rooming house, a couple of miles from where we lived. And Buddy then moved out and moved in, rented a room across the hall from him. So they lived in that rooming house, rented from some Filipino family. And so Jeanette and I kept our apartment. And we'd go to movies together. We'd go to the drive-in. We'd just all pile in a couple cars and go to the drive-in. We'd pile in a couple cars and go out to eat. Or we'd go to the beach, the whole bunch of us. Nobody ever paired off. We just did things in groups all the time. We had meals together, parties together, all kinds of things. And it was just an awesome time. And I wasn't real crazy about him. There were some things that I just wasn't sure of, but years later we figured it out. He had some army machoism to shed a little bit that was still there. Eventually it went away. But anyway, then one day he asked me to go to the races in Milwaukee. Well, I wanted to go. It was Sunday. I hated Sundays. That was the loneliest day of the week for me always. I don't know why to this day, but everybody was gone somewhere, I guess, and I wanted to go, but I didn't have any money to go to the races, and I wasn't sure that he had money to buy me a ticket. And then growing up with my mother being a widow, she always paid her own way. And ours, there was nobody that ever paid for her or us, so I didn't have any development in those kind of protocols or etiquettes or anything. I didn't know that. I mean, I always thought it's nice if a boy treats a girl, but I didn't know how to ask or talk about it. So anyway, I turned him down, told him no, I couldn't go that day. He was real disappointed, and so was I. I watched him pull out of the driveway, and I was home in that whole great big building all day long just by myself. I just about was out of my mind. I paced the floor, tried to watch TV, but it was just all snow. TV wasn't good in those days. Reception wasn't good, and there wasn't any good program. And maybe there was, but we didn't watch TV. Anyway, he was gone all day, and I paced and paced and paced till I was almost crazy. I think I even cried. I probably even prayed and thought, what is life all about? And what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling like this? Why didn't I go? We could have figured it out. If he didn't have money for me, I could have sat in the car, or we could have done something else. Anyway, he went, and I had come to the conclusion. I watched the clock all day long till it got to be about 9 o'clock at night, and I thought he must be back by now. And I was so whipped up on the inside. All I could think of was, I don't know anything about this guy, but I don't want to be away from him one more minute the rest of my life. I can't bear it. It's like my life would be like that day was all my life if I didn't have him. And I was mad. I didn't like feeling like that. I didn't know what was going on. But I don't want to like him. I don't like him. He's rebellious. And while he's gone to the races, he picked up a friend from Milwaukee that he used to go to school with in Truck Creek. And this friend said, "Hey, good to see you. How's your love life?" And he said, he was taken by surprise. He said, "I don't know about that," but he said, "I found the girl I'm going to marry." Oh. And the guy was surprised, but Donnie was more surprised, and he thought, what did I say that for? He'd never even thought of it. But he the same thing was happening in his heart. We still, absolutely amazing. Anyway, so he was at the races all day and thinking about me, and came back, got to his apartment, went to bed. It was hot, maybe 90 degrees that night even. And I left the house then when I got about 9 o'clock, and I thought, I just have to see him. I have to see him. He must be back by now. And surely Buddy will be there. And I took off, tearing out of my apartment, and I ran down a ravine. I jumped a creek, up the other side, cut through backyards and across town and up streets. And I had a rough idea where his street was, Jackson Street. Cut through all these yards and finally got to Jackson. Turned, and I found it. I remembered the number was 303. I'd never been there. And they described it at one time that he and Buddy, you go in the front door, up the stairs, and they each had a room at the top of the stairs. I went, I thought, it'd be my luck that the door would be locked, but it was unlocked yet. I went in, I ran up the stairs, I looked, Buddy's room was empty, I looked in the other room, there Donnie was sound asleep, sweating, drooling. It was an attic apartment, it was so hot. And I went and I just fell on my knees on the floor next to his bed, and I shook him awake, and what? And I said, "Hi." Like, what are you doing here? And I said, I don't know what happened to me today, and I'm so sorry I didn't go with you. I wanted to go so bad. All I know is I don't want to be away from you the rest of my life. And
How
I don't know why I'm
romantic.
feeling like this,
Oh.
but I just can't stand to be. I have to be with you. And he said, what? Huh? Oh, okay. So we still never really dated after that, but we got together. He would come over, go to his sister's. We'd go to the drive-in or something. We went to the drive-in one night with Wayne and Eva, and we were sitting in the back seat, and he proposed to me. And if we hadn't been in the car, he'd have been on one knee, I'm sure. It was so perfect. And when he proposed, I just couldn't answer. I was shocked, but I knew that's what I wanted. But all of a sudden, fear overtook me. I thought, this is a lifetime commitment. I got so scared. I was so afraid I'd fail, and I didn't know how to be a success story in anything I ever did. And he said, don't give me an answer now. Just think about it for a couple weeks. Don't say anything. He was so afraid I was going to say no.
You probably saw what you were.
Yeah, I was just tongue-tied, paralyzed. I couldn't talk. And so then I said, well, yes, if I can have a baby right away. And he said, what? A baby? I said, yeah. Oh, I wanted to be a mother so bad. And he said, well, he never thought of it. And he said, I don't care. Sure. He said, I want lots of children. And yeah, that's all right. And so anyway, I went up north after that for a couple weeks to help my mother. I quit my job. He came up then, I think it was around 4th of July or maybe the week later, and brought me a ring and officially asked me to marry him. We took a walk, not a star in the sky. There was a fish boil at the slaughterhouse in Port Wing.
Oh, no.
When he got there, and we took a walk down this little sandy road, pitch black, took my hand, slipped a ring on my finger, a diamond, and asked me to marry him. And I said yes, and I couldn't even, it was so dark I couldn't even see the ring. So that was that.
So when did you get married?
Well, we planned, that was July 11th. We planned a big wedding for October 16th that year in Herbster. Had a friend that was designing and going to sew my gown. It's going to be white velvet. I wanted to be different. And started planning things, and we ordered invitations. Buddy was going to be our best man, and Diane, Donnie's sister, was going to be our maid of honor. We sat down, the whole bunch of us, making plans, and every time something came up, it was how much it cost, and we didn't have any money. So it was a Saturday night. We were trying to plan flowers and music and all that different stuff, food. And I said, I have to go to the store. Could you drive me? Sure. So we went out, and he drove me. We went a little ways, and I said, just stop. And I started to cry, and I cried and cried. I said, I'm overwhelmed with all these plans. We haven't got any money. How are we going to do all these things? I just want to be married to you. Can't we just be married? Do we have to have a big wedding? You know, it's usually the girl that wants a wedding, and I did. But I couldn't stand the attention and the focus. And so he said, well, hey, I need a hug. He said, well, I don't care. This is one of my prizes.
He is a cute one.
Isn't he? Isn't he just the best? Look at these dimples. White teeth.
He's a good looking one.
Cutie pie, yeah. I love you so much. My little BMX racer. And trampoline jumper, and he does everything. He's athletic. So, anyway, I said, I just cried, and he said, oh, that's fine with me. I don't care about all that stuff. I thought you wanted it. And I said, well, I do, but I just can't do it. I can't do it. He said, okay. And I said, let's just call around and see if we can find a minister that has some time that can marry us. Let's just get married right away. And he said, okay. So we went back to the house, told everybody, hey guys, we're not going to do this. We just can't do it. And so we got on the phone next day and called around until we found a minister that had some free time that week on Thursday night at 6:30.
You're just not traditional, are you?
No, we haven't done anything traditional our whole lives. That was the beginning. It was a pattern developed. And he agreed to marry us, but he said, I should counsel you and see you first. And so we went, and he asked us if we go to church, and we said, well,
we have.
yeah, and he said, well, do you at least go for Christmas and Easter? And we looked at each other and we said, yeah, that would be nice. We could do that. It was so bad. That poor pastor. Anyway, he was willing to marry us anyway. And, so we just planned it for Thursday night at 6:30.
Sasha.
I went out and bought a 3-piece white suit. My cousin's wife worked for a florist, and she made some corsages for my mom and Donnie's mom and Diane, and boutonnieres for the guys, and a corsage for me. And my other cousin's wife came running with her little veil from her wedding, so I had a little veil. Sasha! And we walked into the church from the side office, and here half the church was full of people. We thought, where did they come from? If I'd have known people were going to come, we'd at least had some music or something. It was so dead.
So people came to your wedding?
Yeah, Buddy and Diane and Eva, they all got on the phone and they called everybody that we knew and said, we're getting married on Thursday night, can you come? Lots of people came. Donnie's aunt, who worked for McCormick Place, she was the personal cook for the McCormicks in Chicago, and his cousin from New York, and oh my gosh, and then friends and people that we knew in Waukee.
Leave it to Buddy.
All my relatives. Yeah, it was awesome. And so when my uncle said, don't take any pictures, I got a new camera. So he took all the pictures in the church, and he never used the camera before.
Oh.
They were blurred, they were off center, heads were cut off.
Oh man.
Our wedding pictures are horrendous.
Yep, you're not traditional.
No. And then, and now they spend thousands of dollars on wedding pictures, and I think you only need one. Anyway, then an aunt whispered in my ear after the ceremony was over, said, go over to Ralph and Belle's afterwards, and we said, oh, okay. So we went there, and here my cousins had chipped in and gotten a little 3-tier wedding cake. Somebody hung up a couple wedding bells and covered a picnic table in white paper, and had food, had salads.
Nice.
Oh, it was so nice. Waiters and fishing poles on the wall, shovels and stuff, and wedding bells, and it was the best. And all donated, so we didn't have to start out our marriage in big debt. It was
So
great.
what memory really stands out the most on your wedding day?
Going to our little bungalow, I suppose. We rented a cute little cottage. Oh, darling cottage on a lake. And that's where it was gonna be our residence. It was a tiny little 2-bedroom. And we got there, and he picked me up to carry me over the threshold, and but I lost my keys, and so we couldn't get in. So we had to find an open window, which is really a high window, and he had to shove me up through there, and I had to go open the door and let him in. So we had our honeymoon in our little cottage. It was very, very nice.
I only have about 4 more minutes on this tape, and then I'll put another one in, but let's see. Maybe I should just put another one in. Is there anything else you want to say about your wedding day?
The wedding? No. Happily ever after. It was the best.
You two are a really good couple. Cute.
We've been sweethearts from the beginning, and well, the first 12 years were kind of hard, but then our life changed, and it has been the best marriage. I could not ask for one thing better. It's been full of adventure. We've taken chances. We've done dumb things, but God has always helped us and blessed us. We've traveled all over the world. We've laughed our heads off. We've made tons of mistakes, but we've developed resiliency. We can bounce back. I even fell off a moving train. And we cried, laughed. now we just laugh about it. And
Yeah, you might as well.
We were saved. I was spared. I mean, I could have been killed in that incident.
Yeah,
But
oh.
we've had adventures. We've been in war zones. We've done missions work. We've been to Russia. We've been to Eastern Europe. Our life has been full. I wouldn't change a thing about any of it. It's been awesome. And our family has grown to 11 grandchildren, and oh my gosh. And our kids are wonderful. They just don't live close enough. I miss them all the time.